I'm Daniel Montgomery with Gold Derby here with Aunjanue Ellis. You play Hippolyta in Lovecraft Country, and she's a brilliant woman who's often excluded from things by her family because, they want to protect her. But she eventually gets to be a hero and an adventurer in her own right. And I'm wondering, how did it feel to play out her growth and transformation over the course of the season as she really comes into herself?
It was a blast. It was some of the most fun I've had on screen. And I like the idea, I love the idea that this woman was someone who defied expectations and surprised everyone, including herself. And that we are really on a journey of self-discovery with her, that she has no idea where it's all going to end. But she has to call on all of her different selves to find out who she is. And in the end, she has to choose herself, which is something she hasn't done before.
And had you read the book the series is based on, and did you get any extra insight or inspiration from it?
Well, no, I intentionally didn't read the book because I didn't want to come into the series with any sort of presumptions or expectations, because I really feel that what Misha, our brilliant Misha Green, was doing was something that was a creation that was self-sustained. And I wanted to enter it into it in that way without any sort of, baggage that I would carry from reading the book. Eventually I will read it, but I didn't want to read it before I played Hippolyta.
And in those early episodes, before we get to know her even better and she gets to know herself even better, you're sort of portraying this love story with Courtney B. Vance as George, her husband, and they have a brief time together on screen. How did you develop that relationship with Courtney B. Vance, kind of creating that interaction between the two, making it feel lived in when we don't have as much time with them together before his character dies?
Well, Courtney is this I don't know how to even say it, because I've been trying to describe what kind of actor he is in all the different interviews that I've done, and I still haven't found the proper language. But what I think he is the kind of actor that lifts all boats around him, that no one drowns in his presence. He insists on everyone be present and alive when you are in scenes with him. And I can only say, because he is that kind of actor, he makes everybody better. He made me better. And it just felt like some old shoes that we were putting on. And I love that you use the term lived in, because that is how I felt working with him. Yeah.
And Hippolyta grows throughout the season, but of course the episode where she has her biggest showcase and goes on her biggest journey is I Am. I'm wondering, that takes her to so many places. What were you thinking about it when you first read that script? How did you feel about the potential of going on that journey with her?
Well, I guess to be fully transparent, I had heard that episode 7 was coming, that there were rumors of episode 7, and I didn't want to read it. And I waited until probably 2 or 3 weeks before we were about to shoot it before I read it, because it had been hyped up to be this sort of epic thing that's going to change Hippolyta and change the world as we know it. And I didn't want to be disappointed, so I didn't want to read it. And then when I finally read it, I just felt that I had work to do. I was going to be fighting. I was going to be dancing with Josephine Baker. There were so many things that I was going to have to, first of all, learn how to do as an actor, and that I had to prepare for for literally months in advance. So I had prepared for it before I even read the script. I did my fight choreography work and training and all that stuff before I even read the script. And then when it was time, it was just a job at that point. It was job fulfillment. Okay, this is what I have to do. And then when it was over and I was glad and I had to move on, When you do a series like that, that's so ambitious, you don't have time to sit on your laurels, you know? You got to just move on to the next crazy thing that they had imagined. And it's only been, Lovecraft aired in August. So about 9 months, that we're out of it. I guess a few months after that, when I started getting these requests from different women's organizations and conferences that catered to Black women. And a couple of them had panels that were dedicated specifically to that episode. So I wasn't feeling like it personally, because I don't have a sense of that. When you're in it, you don't have a sense of it. But feeling the effect that it had on these women who saw it, that's been tremendous for me, if that makes sense.
Totally. And just the preparation work, those dance scenes, what was that like to prepare for? And to, because there's a bit of humor at first. She doesn't know, like, she's dropped into this, she doesn't know what she's doing. And then eventually she kind of finds her rhythm. What was that like to prepare for?
Well, that was very authentic, because I did not know what I was doing. I had no clue. I was surrounded by these incredible dancers. And I did not know what the heck I was doing. And after a while, I just said, go with it. Hippolyta doesn't, the character doesn't know what she's doing. And if I went into it with any sort of like, okay, I'm going to do step one and and it would have been a mess. Because I would have been trying to live up to these, well-trained dancers, and it would have been bad. It wouldn't have been funny. It just would have been sad. You know the difference? So I just went with me being a novice and feeling the enchantment I had with Josephine Baker being in my presence.
And in that Josephine Baker section of that episode, there's also, Hippolyta has this one scene that I feel like encapsulates so much of her character and just the theme of the experience of, especially being a Black woman in the 1950s, where she's talking about how, like, the subtle lynching of people making her make herself smaller. And what's powerful about that is the anger that she suddenly feels once she sees the opportunities and she sees the versions of herself that she could have been. It's like, oh, all of this could have been mine, but it's been taken from me. And I'm wondering how you felt with that scene in particular, and just with that theme over the course of the episode and really the series.
Yeah, well, I have a tremendous amount of gratitude to Misha Green and Shannon Houston, who were the writers of the episode. And I think that I had my hair did on Saturday, and the woman who did my hair, as she was, talking, I didn't hear, she said something and I didn't quite hear what she said. And I said, what did you say? And she said, Hippolyta saved my life. And when she said that, I was really not prepared to hear her say something like that. I thought we were just talking about hair, and I didn't know she had knew Lovecraft, or knew who I was, that I was a part of the cast. So it was stunning to me to hear her say that. And so here's this woman who I don't know in Chicago having this feeling about this character, this episode in Lovecraft, and really the whole series. And it certainly reflected my feelings as I was speaking to those Amazon warriors. as I was cutting the head off of Nathan Bedford Forrest. And just the sort of affirmation of rage that is a result of generational trauma for Black women, and being able to give voice to that. Wow, it was a life-changing experience for me, because I sort of feel like, okay, everything has to live up to that. And that's going to be impossible, and I think that I feel that way, not just as an actor, but as a woman now, because I know it's possible.
And you mentioned the Amazon scenes. That's a whole different kind of physicality from the dancing. How was that to prepare for and shoot, especially as she is coming into that anger and as she is, finding herself and expressing herself much more openly there?
Oh, it was fun. It was fun. And I made a special request of Misha, which she, graciously accommodated, that I wanted to give a name to the man whose head I cut off. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I'm from Mississippi. And at the time, my state still used the Confederate symbol as a part of its official state flag. So that was very personal to me, that we were fighting Confederate soldiers, and that and my mother and my mother and people in my home go to hospitals that are named after this man. My sister lives in a county named after Nathan Bedford Forrest, this man who was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. So that was very personal to me. So the joy that I had, to be able to put a sword to his neck, I cannot say it any other way. Oh, it was, I live to do something like that on screen, because it's the marriage of how I feel and the kind of stuff that's fun to do in my profession.
And after the I Am episode, Hippolyta has had all of these experiences, I believe like centuries worth of experience in this episode. And then she comes back to her daughter and her life in Chicago. Did how you play her after that episode sort of, shift, because you sort of have to internalize this journey that she has been on, this life that she has suddenly lived in this one episode?
Well, I love the idea that it's not easy for either of them, and Dee feels abandoned by her mother, and we don't make light of the fact that yes, Hippolyta chooses herself, and there's great joy in that, great liberation in that, but there's also the consequence of a daughter left behind. And I liked the fact that we show that, because we could have there's a way to handle that where the daughter, where Dee doesn't get to say how she feels about being left alone. She doesn't have a father. Her mother chooses to leave her, and it just shows what women go through every day. How do I fully live my life as a full woman, fully in my achievement, in my brilliance, and at the same time be a mother to my children. And unfortunately, still, it's because there's still so much more burden, much more responsibility that women have to carry as caregivers than men do. It's just a fact that, it's a reflection of what women live now, not just in 1950s, Black Chicago.
And the fate of Lovecraft Country, great first season. It's not entirely certain yet, or it hasn't been decided yet if there will be a second season. But I'm just thinking about where the season ends off with you know, Hippolyta has all these experiences, this amazing, iconic blue hair, and her
Yes.
daughter, she has constructed this mechanical arm for. It's like, what do you imagine the adventures for these two could be, you know, in their path together, and also in forging paths as individuals?
You tell me. You tell me. Um, I have no idea. I have no idea. But what I do know, I don't worry, I'm not worried about it, you know, because I feel that in Nisha, I feel that in Shannon and the other wonderful, you know, writers that we had on that show, that they have this sort of, you know, transcendent imagination, rebellious, it's rooted in a rebellion and anarchy, you know, which I think is really exciting, because it blows the form up. And that's the kind of work that I want to do as all of myself, as a writer, as an actor, as, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I want to participate in. So I don't know what it will be, but whatever it will be, you know, fingers crossed that it will be. I'm excited about it. I'm excited.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your work in this first season and whatever the future holds for Lovecraft Country. It's this really impressive, complete document about this experience. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.